Some people say that the majority can't be wrong, but if you get a group of people that say one thing and the rest of the group say another, and the vast majority are on the side of the innocent party, whereas the others are racial or bigoted people, and they say no, that person is of a different skin colour or a different race or a different gender or different sexuality, so they must be wrong. Without any charges, without any evidence, they decide 100% against the person for one personal reason or the other. Then the majority ruling will be accepted as a case of the people that accept the evidence that is given. Unfortunately, you might get a group of people that are completely made up of these evil, narcissistic, manipulative, evil people. And the problem here is that when you get a specific group of people that are racist, that are discriminative against others, that have very low level intelligence and want nothing more than to watch people around them suffer and burn because an ancient tome tells them that they need to live that way, and they have been brought up either genitally mutilated if they are female and forced to suffer that excruciating pain and trauma from a very early age, or they're brought up to believe that it's perfectly adequate to rape someone because as long as they have two friends to say they didn't do it and only the woman to say they did, then the woman will be stoned to death for committing adultery. I am really strongly against this sort of thing, and this is an article, Islamic Sharia law comes to Great Britain. With the introduction to this video stating that a majority ruling will always rule. Whenever you've got a group of people and the majority say one thing and the minority say another, you could have 100 people and 80% of them say we should be able to kill who we want because we don't like the look on someone's face, and the 20% can say no. The 80% can overpower and, if necessary, kill the 20 that don't agree. As a result, you get, as I've mentioned in previous videos, you get gangs and criminals that inhabit one area, and over time they end up filling up like a plague. They're a cancer, a virus that infects and destroys. There are also people that aren't necessarily criminal types, but they will vote. There's Barack Obama, for example. There are many people, many black people, that voted for him just because he was black. They are black, he's black, he had their vote because they're of the same race. There are people, my brother mentioned someone at his workplace who was white. They said, well, it's about time that a black guy was president, and he asked what they meant by that. They said, well, they deserve it. Me personally, either Barack Obama or Mitt Romney. Barack Obama had my vote every time because Mitt Romney was a delusional moron. Everything that he vowed for, everything that he was, is religiously extreme, and for that reason I say he should never be in power. But then when you look at the amount of politicians, especially in America, that ban atheists from office, you realise that this world is turning to shit quicker than any of us can do anything about it. In Tower Hamlets in the UK, the Muslim man was elected mayor. He has ties to extremist groups, and he says that Sharia law, this Chowdhury wants Sharia law to rule Great Britain. Last year, his followers put up posters around Tower Hamlets labelling it a Sharia-controlled zone where Islamic rules are enforced. Radical Muslims have threatened and beaten women for not covering up, and have almost beaten to death homosexuals in the streets. It might be a case of a man is thought to be homosexual, or simply he hasn't been married to someone early on in his life, and so there's a rumour that it's because he isn't attracted to women. As a result, they target him. These people are bigots, they're racist, they're discriminative, they are evil, horrible, nasty people. I'm not saying this to Muslims in general, because there are a lot of Muslims that are good people, they're decent people. They obey their religion to the point where it says that you have to obey the laws of your host country. That is in the Quran. There are people that consider themselves to be Muslims, yet they can have a pint at the weekend. They can eat a bit of pork. It's not because it's just the fact is they use the Quran because where they grew up, that was the religion of that land. They use the holy books and scriptures as well as the words of the elders and imams, as Christians do priests, and the Bible as a set of guidelines. Chandri says, if you're afraid to have your hand cut off, don't steal. If you don't want to be stoned to death, don't commit adultery. If you want an education, well, if you don't want to be shot in the head at 14 years old, don't ask for an education. If you don't want to be imprisoned for 3 years, don't be an atheist. Those are crimes that have been committed against decent people, be it atheist or Muslim, that have wanted an education or have simply just not been Muslim. The fact that this has happened, the fact that a Muslim man has been made mayor, that is not what I am against. I am 100% against religion and politics mixing for these reasons alone. What is wrong with two men being in love with each other? What's wrong with two women being in love with each other? What's wrong with using mouthwash that contains alcohol? What's wrong with wearing a t-shirt during the summer? What's wrong with listening to a string quartet? People, extremists, will always say that everything needs to be exactly as it was. Even the Amish, even that they haven't, I don't believe they've done any harm to anyone, but the point I'm trying to make with them is they live in a certain way of life where they don't have any electricity, they don't have electronics, they don't have anything digital. They live as people did in the 1850s. That's just the way they want to live. But I guarantee you, you show them a Game Boy, or a video camera, or a computer, or a movie, then there is a good chance that they will want to experience that. The fact alone item alone is not evil. The influences it causes someone to decide they want to do might be questionable, but it is not that item that causes a bad seed to even be planted. That seed already has to be within their mind for them to be manipulated or question what it is they do. The fact that Islamic law and Sharia controlled zones are going to be popping up all across the UK, it's not just the fact that this is my country, it's wrong anywhere in the world. The fact that women are being segregated and in some cases even murdered by their own family in a sense of an honour killing. There have been people that have suffered throughout all of time because of religious law. Laws should be made by us, but that again is against Sharia law. The Quran states that any law made by man is blasphemy, and blasphemy must be met with death. That is a weapon they use, a tool that they use to prevent any movement forwards. For if you were to question it, you'll be executed or punished. If you were to say this is a better law, this is a better way of doing it, because that person isn't killed, they were able to be a good person, all they did was take a loaf of bread for their starving child to save their life. Rather than cutting off their hand, make them work it off. If the loaf of bread cost 50p, make them do an hour's unpaid work. But of course, me just questioning that and bringing up that subject, bringing up that topic is enough to have me either imprisoned, executed, or even treated like a thief or murderer. We need to prevent religious law infecting this country. When you look at other places in the world where young rape victims are being murdered in a court justly, as far as the society is concerned, because they have committed adultery. They have admitted to having sex before marriage simply because they have been assaulted and someone has forced themselves upon them. But it's not just Islam. The Bible states that if a woman is attacked in such a way and she doesn't scream loud enough, she should be executed. And the rapist isn't committing a crime against a woman, he is committing a crime against a man who owns her, either her father if she's unmarried or her husband if she is married. If we had a Christian alternative to Sharia law in this country, we would have to execute everyone who worked on a Sunday, everyone who ate pork, everyone who ate shellfish, everyone whose ever questioned their parents, anyone who's ever insulted your parents. It's just insanity. We should be at a stage right now where we are progressing in a positive way. And imposing religious law is just sending us back to the Dark Ages. That was a time when everyone believed in God, and when religious law and religious wars were occurring every single day. We come out of the Dark Ages, and that was the birth of modern science. That should be enough to tell you, well, which way to go about it. Science, logic and reason, or insanity, hatred and religion. You've got a choice to make, so try and make the right one.